like it.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
Hey, how you
Dion.
doing?
Everyone.
Hey, how you
Perfect.
doing?
Thank you for joining us. So I'll just start then. Thank you, everybody who's joining in to Sister Soul Sessions. This is episode 21. And we are joined tonight by a very special guest, owner and operator of Ties by Dion, Mr. Dion Campbell. So, Mr. Dion, if you'd like to just introduce yourself and let us know about your business.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you, ladies, for having me on your program. I really do appreciate it,
Of course.
and thank you so much for having a platform where we can be able to speak about different issues. Well, I'll just get to it. My name is Dion Campbell, and I am the owner and proprietor of Ties by Dion LLC. I founded it in Gary, Indiana, at 2008. So I've been in business for a very long time.
That's
Whoa,
amazing.
that's a long time to be in business, but I love
During the
that
big
though.
recession. How
Right.
Yeah,
did
yeah. My business was birthed during a recession.
Yeah. So what makes you, motivated to, start something like that, during such a hard time and everything like that? What motivated you?
Well, to be honest with you, my track going forward, let me take off my glasses because I see it's a little glare. Um, my track moving forward in neckwear actually started because I was going to a job interview. And also, too, I served as a little tailor for an international fashion show. So I made a necktie because I needed to go to this job. And people were like, "Hey, where'd you buy that from?"
Wow.
And I was like, "I made it." So people were like, "Hey, I want to buy that tie from you." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" So from there, people were just like, "I'll buy this necktie from you." And from there, that spark just kind of clicked and said, "You know what? You should go ahead and pursue this." Um, and I just started off with a smaller price point because I didn't know what I was doing. But I just stayed with it. And little did you know, I had the support of the community. Um, Mothers were actually commissioning me to make neckwear for their sons, and also two staff members. So it worked from there, and I just went from one step to the next. I didn't go out there and purchase a huge machine because I didn't know what I was doing. I knew
Right.
what I was doing, but
Right.
I took a slow process in doing it.
That's amazing. So
Okay,
what a
right.
blessing that business kind of happened for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. So you just knew how to sew already and like did
yeah.
that
My
come?
mom. You know, the funny thing about me sewing, my mom taught me how to sew when I was 8 years
Oh
old.
wow.
I was a hyperactive child. Now, and I had ADD before it was diagnosed.
Right?
And I'm a kid of the 80s. So my mom was like, "You know what, I'm gonna fix you."
You're
And
right.
she said it was an old pair of linen
Mhm.
curtains and they were white. And each day after school, we cut up those curtains and we made a dress for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So she started to condition me to do hand sewing.
Mhm.
And I was always an active child. I ran, I rode my bike, but I still had a lot of energy.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that sewing machine and that needle and that thread, that actually calmed down. I don't know what the receptor is, but it just calmed down that other side of my brain.
Right. That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
I, from there, at 8 years old, I learned how to sew. I didn't pick up the sewing machine until I hit 28 years old professionally.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That is amazing. And what a blessing mom knew, how to actually get you to calm down.
Yes.
There was no medication needed. There was
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
and what a skill, you know what I mean, that to teach your son and to grow that and then not to do it for that long. And here goes this business. Here comes mom's blessing again.
Yep.
Yes.
So that is
Yes.
beautiful. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. So did
Yes.
you get the job?
Oh yeah,
Right.
actually I did. Actually I did. I was a media specialist for Thea Bowman Leadership Academy.
Okay.
So I pretty
Nice.
much was a school librarian.
That's amazing.
Okay. Right.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you could come to school and have it put, you
Right.
just put it on every
Every
day.
day. Every day was a new, because that was our dress code. Every day we had
Yeah.
to wear a shirt and tie.
Oh
So I
my
said,
goodness.
okay, I'm gonna eat this up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and keep dressing. So that's how my
That
business grew.
is awesome. So did you love to like dress up and everything as a kid too? Were you always that person?
That hit me when I want to say my third year of college,
Okay.
dressing up, my junior year of college. But my mom could see it my senior year of high school, because she was like, you know how to coordinate stuff. And I said, yeah, I would just kind of take a step back and say, this fits, this doesn't. So it was always there, because I think that she imparted it in me. And
Right.
that's how it kind of grew from there.
And then he was born.
Yeah,
The
here we are.
classic man. I absolutely love the story. I'm so glad. So being from Indiana, was your business receptive there? Is that a good market for, because it's such a niche, fashion, industry?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, it was.
Okay.
And now that that's a really good question, because I think about it in retrospect, I was wearing bow ties when it was sort of, what's the word I'm trying to use? I was wearing bow ties when it was not on trend.
Right.
And, with the bow ties as well as the neckties. So I was taking different colors and incorporating them. So I think that, and I don't like to say that I was a trendsetter, because that's like a heavy word to put, but I will say that it was me and a few other gentlemen there within the region that could just really zero in on it. So yeah, they were very receptive. They were very, very receptive. The moms were very receptive for their kids.
Okay.
And it took a little bit for the fellas to jump on.
Okay.
But,
well, once they saw that the women were eating it up,
yes.
I'm
Right.
sure.
Yes.
I'm sure it was a little easier then.
Yeah.
No, but that's amazing, because I think that comes from, them showing their sons something else to model after. We're always shown, things on TV that maybe not are not in the light, of like a grown man, is, what we see, being in our 30s and things like that now, myself. So, I could see why moms would come to you and, hey, this is the model. Like, look at this man. And he's doing everything, he's doing everything that you would want in life. And look at how he's dressed. He doesn't have to be, this type of guy to look like this. So I commend you. That's amazing.
I'm always just blessed for the opportunity to be able to do that. So, I mean, even when people say that, yeah, you're the classmate, it's kind of like with me, I'm a little bit of a introvert, extrovert. So it's
like you could see me,
ambivert.
Yeah, ambivert.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But when that camera hits, it's like, okay, it's time. It's time. It hits me then. But yeah, I'm just very blessed to be able to provide neckwear and possibly be able to just kind of help people in the process of it, because somebody took the time with me. My father took the time out to really zero in on having skills of. He used to always tell me, he said that, Dion, whatever you do, you must do it with tact. And also too, ruling with integrity as well, being a gentleman. Those keynote things, those are things that I took away from my father. And just if I can impart that to the kids, then that would just help out a lot.
That's amazing. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So them being such a big influence, do you feel like you're honoring that legacy of what your parents have taught you and instilled in your business now?
I hope so. My mom, she gives me a hard time at times, but I know that it's coming from a great place. And I love it, because even as I've gotten older, I'm 42 years old, she'll still kind of give me a critique like, yeah, let's kind of sharpen up the edges here.
Right.
Or let's do this and let's do that. So I know that it's working. My father, he passed away when I was 17 years old, but I got everything from him that I needed. I was a sponge for him. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just grateful that I have those great memories, and I try and hold on to them as much as I can.
That's beautiful. I
It
love
really
that. And now you get to be a part of such special and beautiful moments. I see that you do a lot of weddings and things like that. How does that feel for you, being a part of like someone's, big day, their legacy, really?
Right.
You know what? Now that that is something that I would have never thought I would be doing in a million years. Me making neckwear, but for weddings, it's such a beautiful process because they're going to look at that maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Right.
They're going to have that neckwear to look at and even wear when they go to their balls or events that they are commissioned to go to. So it feels good, and it's always going to be on photo.
Yeah.
So I have
Absolutely.
to keep that
Yeah. Right. The free promo that comes with that every time. It's the best picture they're gonna have, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, no, that has to feel good. But how do you come up with these designs? I mean,
What's your
I'm
motivation?
seeing the feathers. Yeah, like it's beautiful.
It really is.
Thank you so much.
Right. I'm
Honestly,
like,
I
yeah,
want
like,
one, to be honest
or at
with
least
you.
a brooch situation.
Right.
Well, you know what? My
Something
sister
nice.
came to me and she was like, "Hey, you need to go ahead and branch off and do a lady scarf line." And that's
Oh,
something that I'm thinking
that
about
right there.
doing. So, you know, because I love fall fashion and I love winter. I just love the layering look of it.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as the motivation, when it comes down to it, I always ask the couple, what are your colors that you're using? And I think a popular color that I've been running across, it's been making the rounds again, the color mauve. Well, pink,
Yeah,
like pink.
it is like a dusty
Yeah,
rose.
like a
It's a
dusty
beautiful color.
rose. And it's crazy that you mentioned that because I'm working on one right now that's almost
Let me
like that
see.
same texture.
I like
But this was the conversion that she wanted. But yeah, just a lot of men, they're very apprehensive about approaching color because they're like, I don't want to wear that. You have a lot of men that are still stuck in their old ways, and I'm like, hey, we can go ahead and we can make it feel a little bit more masculine. And my biggest thing was just making sure that I put color on males. That was that was one of my motivations. But I don't know, as far as the feathers, I honestly can tell you, and you know, I'm a firm believer in Christ that, you know, Holy Spirit just downloads it in me and I see it. I saw the Kobe Bryant tie in the middle of the night and I was like, okay, this is what I got to do to honor him. And I did it 2 years prior, but I was like, let me go ahead and retweak it and redo it. And this is a Kobe Bryant inspired tie that I made in honor of his legacy. And it just comes to me. It just comes to me. And I want to make sure that I honor every vision that I get when it comes to neckwear.
That's how you know you're in tune. You know, you're really taking your downloads.
You're in
when
alignment.
it comes to and you know to use it, and that's not something to sit on or to not use. So that is amazing that you really that's how you know you're in your season and in alignment with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And God is ordering those steps because that's what's coming to you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I have my lazy moments too. That's something that I have been battling with, the spirit of procrastination. But it's crazy because I always do my best work at the last minute.
I'm a good rushing, when my heart's pounding, I'm really good too.
But you know, it's one of those things when you almost feel like your elders say, now you know you should have got through with this 2 weeks ago. Like, why are you waiting to the last minute? And that's something that I'm really trying to break. And even me being in the business for about 15 years, just making sure that I'm maintaining professionalism. It can be to a point where delivering customer service is key, but just want to make sure that I maintain that. It hasn't been a challenge, but I have to make sure that I am taking my breaks first so that I can be able to be fresh for all of my clients as well.
Right. That's where your creativity will actually come from. You know, you have
it's
to be
that
rested
rest period.
Yeah. Yes. You hit it
Rest
with the
is
rest
required. It really is.
Yeah.
And with your procrastination, do you feel like that comes with a lot of times because you're a perfectionist? I know with me, I feel like a lot of times I'll wait till the last minute. I mean, because I'll wait till the last minute because I know if I did it early, I'm going to go and change it so many times in between that I'd rather just get my best work at the end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can attest to that. And I will say now too, it has just gotten to the point now. That was when I knew that I needed to take a break. It was just being flat out lazy for me. I was like, oh, I don't feel like doing. But you're right though, because you can literally, when you think about the process of it, it's like, okay, I got to do it this way. I have to make sure that I'm meeting that same metric as before, or even beating it. And it's like, no, everything that what put my mind at rest was just to know that everything that you need and want has already been placed inside of you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like, and it's appointed time it will be revealed. And I was going back, and I think at one point, about 3 years ago, I suffered with imposter syndrome really bad, because I was around so many professionals, and I was like, man, I'm not classically trained. You know, I'm just taking what came from my mom and from her grandmother. But you know, what freed me from that was the fact that I said, no, everything that they showed me was raw. It was organic.
Yes.
It didn't come from a machine.
Exactly.
When they say getting it in the mud, I mean, I can make a pattern out of some old paper bags because that's how we were raised. So, you know, when they say don't despise small beginnings, I had to really just go back, and that right there just canceled out that whole mindset of imposter syndrome.
No, it's amazing you were able to overcome that, because that is big, especially when you're creative, because all you do is watch what others are doing, right? You want to stay on trend. You need to know these things. So how do you not absorb that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but how do you do that with social media now? Because that is a whole other.
Everybody love to dress up, and it is fall, so everybody trying to dress to the nines. So how do you keep up, or how do you get ahead of that?
You know what? With that, making sure that I pace myself, because the fall season, and I will say, by me being one of the brand ambassadors for Bruno Capella, the hat line, it actually puts in perspective to the outfits that I need to curtail and bring to the forefront. So by me being the brand ambassador, or just the model, it's actually taking a huge load of stress off, because they'll say, hey, we need you to model like 3 different hats or 4 different hats. And once they just give me that catalyst, I'm like, okay, they've given me a brown hat, they've given me a red hat. It's like, okay, now it just all comes together, and it makes it much more easier. But prior to me becoming the model, it was a challenge, because you've got so many different cycles and everybody's just racing for the next thing. And you can really burn yourself out very quickly if you just stay so close to social media. So making sure that I take my time to detox from it.
Right.
And just making sure that, I follow a few people, and I'm like, I like what they did. And you kind of take notes visually. But from there, I'll just take the notes and just keep moving on throughout life, because if you don't, you can get sucked into that whole thing of just what we talked about, the procrastination, because you feel as if there's a lack of, and it's like, I'm not going to be able to meet it.
Right.
But yeah.
Especially when you see people who are pumping out content so regularly.
Constantly, right.
And it's like, am I doing enough to, but you have to realize, okay, but their situation or their setup is going to be different. They are using machines, the hand craftsmanship is not there, so you staying true to yourself, like you were saying, is going to be how you beat that imposter syndrome, because you know that people are coming to see your work, purchase your work. So so social media has changed the game.
It has. And I mean, people are automating and I've done that at one point too, where you can automate your posts. But when you get to a certain level, and you guys know this too, once you develop your base, or once you develop your keynote friends, you want to make sure that you can honor them as well. So if it means that you have to post 3 times a week, which is my thing now, some people post every day. I have friends that post every day, and I'm like, look, I don't have that.
It's like 20 times a day.
That's a lot. And I'm like, do you want to watch me just go to work? Because you know, I have a regular job too. I'm like,
Yeah.
look, we're not gonna watch each other at work. Somebody has to work.
No, seriously. And that, I think that's what's so challenging of, like I said, being a creative that is true to the creative process
Mhm.
and not just wanting to make things just to have them pushed out. So I'm glad that you have that collaboration though, because they're able to take off the load of what is on trends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah. So hey, I don't even have to look up what's,
Nope.
trending right now for colorways or anything. So that's amazing. But how is that working relationship with being a brand ambassador?
It is excellent. And, you know, I will say that was something that I'm a big believer in, making sure that you can speak a thing in existence.
Mhm.
I went into into one of our local clothing stores, and I wore that hat. It's a red bottom hat that they have. It's their signature Bruno camel hat. And I said, I will be a model for this company. And I just kept, I started creating words of declaration over myself
Yeah.
and speaking positively over it. And the thing of it was that I said, every time I get the opportunity, I will model this brand, I will showcase it. And I made sure that I put the hashtag Bruno Capello. And, you know, one of my good friends, he's probably watching now, Chris, he reached out to me, he said, hey, we've been noticing this. And I was like, oh my God.
Hey.
So when they talk about, my pastor told me this, he said, information, application, then manifestation. You've got the information that you need, then you need to apply it. So the application was me, okay, let me put this hat on, let me go ahead and do my due diligence and taking the photo and saying, hey, I'm doing the product. And then you wait for the manifestation. And
I
it
like that.
actually, yeah, so it's a 3-step process. Pastor Tony Petway told me that it's information, application, and manifestation. And
So you guys
Nice.
heard that. Write that
Right.
down.
Please take notes. Please take notes because it's a
Because it
real
really
thing.
is about, because faith without works is
yeah,
dead.
yes,
And
yes,
to
absolutely.
believe that and just hope for that is not going to be enough, right? You already, set yourself up and like, no, I am already. That's why I put it on.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that is beautiful. And hey, the hat is working because
Yes.
as soon as we put your promo up, the hat was working.
Really?
So
Okay.
Yes.
the hat was working. So yes, I'm glad that you have that wonderful relationship, and it's something that you will continue to grow, I'm sure. And when you have these lady scarves, I could put it under my brim because
Oh yeah.
I live in Kansas City. That's all they wear.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
so I would love to do the combo. So I
Yeah.
speak things too. I speak them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited to see everything kind of fold through and fall through with
Yeah.
it.
Yes, no, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful. And I'm so excited to see that for you. And with your colorways and everything, how have your travels? I see that you travel a lot. How does that influence your brand and how you design as well?
Oh, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Now, this was the first trip that I took after 5 years or 6 years of just kind of being, during the pandemic.
Right.
I was one of the ones that got scared inside the house. So
So you weren't
meaning that
going.
I'm just gonna stay in the house and I'm fine. And my college buddies was like, "Hey, you got to get out," and I'm like, "No, no, no." But I went to Dubai last month, and just me seeing the colors there. Of course, it's a desert land. You're in the desert.
Yes.
And, just seeing that also too, like the dusty haze of things, it does influence you a little bit because you want to make sure that things are more pliable and breathable.
Right.
I stay in the South. I'm in Alabama now. And clothing and the weight of clothing has such a it has such a significance on what we wear. So when it comes down to suits, I have to keep in mind that men don't want to wear long necktie all day. So I have to keep in mind about the fabric choices. I want to make sure that I'm using more cottons as opposed to the hot silks and the satin fabrics.
Right.
And also too, that's when I really can zero in on bow ties But for the fall season right now, just me traveling up to Indiana and Chicago, because I'm near Chicago, the colors
Mm-hmm.
are more dark, they're more conservative, but I love color. I love color,
Right.
so I just want to make sure that I can have the best of both worlds. Um, when I make scarves rather, I want to make sure that it's always like a tale of two worlds. So one side is more geometrical with the patterns, and the opposite side is more solid and more conservative.
I love
Okay,
that. Yeah.
So,
two-sided. I like
yes,
that.
two-sided. So I wanted to make sure that I focused on duality in fashion,
Okay.
because you have those times when you want to, it's almost like the haircut, the mullet, when they say business in the front, business in the front,
Party in
and
the
party in
back.
the back.
I like that.
You remember when sisters had that mullet
Yeah,
too?
hey,
Oh my
they're coming
goodness.
back. They're coming
It was,
back.
Right.
and then the girl,
They're coming back with the fringe bangs
yeah,
and
Ooh.
yes.
yeah, yeah. So I just want to make sure that there was a duality within fashion too, because you want to have that playful side come out as well as the more conservative side.
Right.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
it's beautiful, and I think that's why it's gone so far. But even with the patterns that you choose, I feel like still go very well with your everyday wear as well. Like
Yes.
Thank you.
it's something, you know what I mean? It's something that every man can wear. And that's what I
Mhm.
really liked about, seeing all of your designs and things like that. But I know
Thank
that
you.
speaking of the designs though, and your fabrics, what are some fabrics that are a no-no? Because as
Right.
we're out here getting because we're getting so much fast fashion, and I feel
Yes,
like we're not looking at those things.
yes.
So with someone, with you like really paying attention to that, yeah, like what should we stay away from? How do you choose?
Well, if you've watched many of my videos, I always kind of do a feel.
Hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
always feeling stuff. So anything that would have a texture of, and anything sort of like rayon, I try and stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But also too, I understand that it's going to be a blended fabric because we are in the fast fashion
Yeah.
era. So everything that we find and run across is going to be, for lack of a better word, cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll make certain items, but I will notice, I've noticed that with a lot of the rayons, they just don't hold up very well. Certain polyesters don't hold up.
Right.
So it's just those two fabrics I try and steer clear of. But when they're blended, I can kind of work with
Hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just try and stay away from the super cheap frayed type of
Right.
fabrics. Yeah,
But they have the most shine, so that's
Right.
they
what.
do. They
They
do, and
have
they
a
look very
nice shine.
beautiful. They look beautiful too. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been able to kind of figure out a cheat code
Hmm.
and incorporating just little bits and pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still want to make sure that the integrity of the work is there when
Right.
it comes to my fabric
Or else
choices.
it'll be after that first, wash, or you rubbed it
Yeah,
Ooh,
in.
it's gonna fall apart.
It
yeah,
got
it's
too
for
hot.
the
Mm-mm.
rest.
He's like, that little fringe on it?
Yeah,
No, man.
we can tuck that in. No, we're
Yeah.
not doing it.
Nah, you're not tucking
We-
nothing in with
We're not gonna
that.
tuck it in. We have to work with it. But yeah, my first tie was like that, and they were like,
Really?
"Yeah, we want that tie," and it was all bunched up, and I said, "They want this."
Oh.
They didn't
Oh.
see it though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That was the first tie ever, and I told my mom about it. She was like, "Look," she said, "You'll get better with
yeah.
time."
Mm-hmm.
And there's some photos that I keep on Facebook, and I'm almost ashamed of because I said, "I cannot believe I made this." But as you get better, you should see the progression in your work.
Right.
Yes.
And I love the fact that God has graced me with progressions, and I get to see it in real time as well.
So when did you feel like you had it, though?
Right.
Like, when was it like, okay, here's my logo, I'm
That
packaging
aha
it?
moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that my aha moment
Mm-hmm.
hit me in, oh boy, there was a wedding that I did for a client named it was for Laurent Wiley,
Okay.
and it was in New Orleans. And this incorporated me doing construction too, because I do glass etching to
Oh,
make the custom boxes. So those boxes that
Oh
you
my
have saw
gosh,
in those videos,
no way.
right. We didn't
I
know
make those
that.
boxes.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Okay.
And you
right. That's
know,
right.
I had
Better
a
chase the
vision of
game.
that box, and I was like, okay, this is what needs to be done. And once the photographer was there, he opened it up. He said, Dion, I have never saw anything like this before, where you could just open it up and you'll see the champagne, you'll see it all. And I was like, I said, God just gave it to me.
Yeah,
But at that moment, I knew that I was
Yes.
onto something. Um, what hit me hardest was the fact that when now I got a call from a store called Moss and Hoffman
Mm-hmm.
in Florida, and they said we would like for you to make a bow tie for the ambassador of Ireland.
Mm.
That was my moment, and that happened in 2017.
wow.
That hit me the hardest, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And they were like, "Well, how soon can you get it to us?" I said, "Well, I can make it now, and I can just overnight it to you." So I'm
Wow.
calling my mom. I said, "How much am I going to charge?" And she said, "Well, this is the time you charge the money."
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but but I sold my first tie to them for a great price, and not my first tie, but my first ship out order to a store for a great price, and that was a big moment.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
So
So yeah, how do you battle with that? I know the pricing thing is always something when you're an
Yes.
entrepreneur and you feel like you're starting out or you feel like maybe I'm not there. How
Mm-hmm.
did you get, yeah, so how did you come up with a price? Yeah, what did you
well, you know, the thing of it is was that I really relied heavily on some of the tools that I learned from my business courses in college.
Okay.
And I looked at my competitors, and I wanted to make sure that I was right there in the middle of a Dillard's tie. I was right in the middle of maybe a Nordstrom tie.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Nordstrom, you know, they carry the
Yeah.
more upper echelon brands, and Dillard's is more so like the everyday man approach. And I said, let me get right there in the center and have my sweet spot at $45.
Okay.
And this was back in 2014,
Okay, good.
2015.
Nice.
So it was a nice comparable spot. And I was always making sure that I sold my motto, which is creating an experience.
Okay.
That is the motto for the company. We want to make sure that we create an experience for you. You can buy a tie from Burlington or from
Right.
JCPenney,
Right.
and you know those are great brands. But I wanted to make sure that you got a little bit of extra flavor to it. It was custom made from me, so that was what kind of separated me from the pack.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
making sure that you know your demographic. You know, you have a
Right.
lot of people and I think that we really need to have a course for our young up and coming entrepreneurs that to really teach them and tell them, hey, you can't go out the gate charging $100 for a product that has
That's what's
time
Right.
happening right
That's
now.
investment.
just
That's what's happening. Yeah.
right.
It's not time
Deposits
investment.
and things like that. Like,
Absolutely,
tripping.
absolutely. And you know, people they see entrepreneurs, they see guys like you, they see me, and they're like, yeah, I can do this. And it's like, no, it's so much that goes with it.
Right.
It takes time to cultivate your business, and it takes time to charge those prices. So just making sure that I set my prices that the community could afford.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, my lowest price bow tie is like, and this is for kids, it's like $20. It's a $20 bow for a child, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's at a great price point. And also, too, making sure that I do my group discounts for wedding orders as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make sure that you can work with your clients as well. You may have some customers that are like, hey, I don't have a lot of money, but can we do alternatives?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, you may not be able to afford this package, but we can do this
That's
instead, just
Right.
to make sure that they are included. I wanted to make sure that my business was a very inclusive business where everybody could feel like they were a part of luxury,
yeah.
because I experienced luxury.
Absolutely.
No, I love that. I love that. Yes.
Yeah,
Making sure that they are able to experience
Right.
luxury. Yes.
absolutely.
And I
Working
feel
with
like
them.
everybody missed that mark. They don't really include everybody. They kind of they want to hit the highest clients and say, okay, well, they get that experience because that's what they're paying for. And that's where
Mhm.
they're wrong. Everyone should get that experience.
They should. They should, because it makes you want to work harder for something. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's the thing of it is that I didn't know that I wanted a convertible. And this is just an example. I didn't know that I wanted a convertible until I saw my neighbor driving one
Right.
as a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing of it is that I see it in the eyes of my nephews and the eyes of, his friends. They're like, man, I want to be somebody when I get older. I want to be able to have my own house. I want to be able to possibly purchase. Sometimes they want to purchase a Louis duffel bag, but that comes through seeing those things.
Yeah. Right.
And I feel that everybody should experience the luxury of having a great necktie. I think that every male should have a suit.
You're right.
That's me. I'm old school on that. So you can hit me over the head. You can do it. But I'm like, look, I'm a firm believer. Like, hey, I want you all to come polished and give yourself that treat, because once a man puts on a suit, it changes his trajectory.
Yep, you're right. And I feel like your bow ties kind of elevate that.
Thank you so much.
No, honestly, you want to add the polishing touches or the finished touches to a suit. You can't just wear a suit and say, you know what, this is it. No, I feel like menswear, as far as neckties and bow ties and hats, those are the finishing touches to a suit.
Wow.
And that you provide.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
That tie comes into the room first, doesn't it? So before we do all of these, of course, guys, we go through everyone's videos, know what to post to promote them. And we were just watching the wedding videos, and it was like, a lot of times, you're watching the bride, that moment where they're both coming into the room at the reception. But like, we were like, man, look at that. Like, it came into the room as well. It really looked like it was also the man's wedding, like, which I feel like gets lost because a lot of times they're just in the penguin suit and there's no, so I love that. Yeah, you made it so that they could be a peacock instead. And I love that, as males should be. Yes. So yes, that tie came into the room. Yes, that's how I express things, you guys. Because they always laugh at me too, like, because it did. No, seriously, one of them I was looking at, it was the latest one they posted, and I was like, dang, I didn't even notice her dress, and that's usually where my mind, my eye goes to. Yeah. And that's where I was like, man, and that feather, like, oh, I could use that. And we were like, yeah, we want a necktie. I was like, I would. Oh, yeah. I would wear it. Yeah, well, Carson, hey, with him, he's actually he's a brand that he's the model for Bruno as well. Oh, and he's a dresser. Now, we were working together since January of this year. His wedding was in September. So he called me, him and his twin, I think his twin sister, they're twins. And they were like, hey, how are we going to set this up? And I was like, look, this is what we're going to do. And he said, yeah, I want this feather. I said, okay, let's do the feather. And when that was perfect choice. I was like, okay. But he just brought it to life. Yeah. But that was another thing. I'm glad that you touched on that too, because oftentimes our groom, they felt a little bit neglected, and they were like, hey, I'm just putting on this boring tie. And I was like, you want to give her the treat of looking at something elegant as well. So that's pretty much another reason why I birthed my business, because I wanted to make sure that we were taken care of as the fellas, and to have that creative niche in there as well. Yes, you've definitely executed that goal. Right. Because yeah, I was saying to my brothers, like, okay, you guys, when we take our family photos, because I want us to be all debonair. I want, I want it to look like, the old school, like posters on the wall of, like, the big families, but I want them decked out in those ties. So yeah, and get my scarf, Right. Oh yeah, gotta get the scarf. Gotta have the scarf. So we can all have it. Yeah, I have 5 brothers. And a sister. So yeah. Wow. Yes. And I would love for them to be dressed up. So that's why it's like, such an influence on what was seen and how men should dress and what, at least own one. And if you're gonna have a tie, ties by Dion, everybody.
Yep.
Come,
I have 5
ties by
brothers as
Dion.
well, so definitely I
Yeah.
will send them your way.
Oh wow, so you got 5 brothers as well?
Yes, but I'm the
Wow.
only girl, so.
The only
Yeah, in her family, she's the only girl. So I at least have one sister, I have one ally. But
I'm
yeah,
the
so we
youngest out of 4, so it's like, that's the thing of it, it's 2 boys, 2 girls,
oh
but
nice.
when you start talking about my heart goes out to the young ladies because I know boys, they're gonna hover over their young girls. They're gonna, which is understandably so. So yeah, I totally understand the ecosystem of having siblings.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah.
So we're trying to
Definitely
get them, we're trying to, yes, we're like, look, you guys, this is where we go. And definitely have some weddings coming up and things like that. So definitely we'll be reaching out that way.
I'm
But with
excited.
but with our influence with our siblings and things like that, how does your business now turn into an influence to the younger generation? I know that that's something that's big for you, and you want to impart, some type of mentorship to the younger generation. So what does that look like?
It was a challenge because the thing of it was that by me going to college with a lot of my peers and people that you're huddled with people that are freshmen and you may be a senior.
Right.
So you can kind of impart wisdom down through the different classes. But once I got out of the whole collegiate avenue, I'm like, there's no liaison. There's nobody to kind of bridge the gap. And I'm over here as a 40-year-old, and I'm sitting over here like, well, I need to make an impact to the youth. So what helped out a lot was the fact that I still had a lot of friends who were a part of sororities, and they were like, hey, can you come to the school and talk about neckwear? Can you talk about interview clothing, what to wear, what not to wear, how to speak? And I ran across a young man, his name is Alvin Giroux, excellent young man. And he has been phenomenal and just bringing in the youth and helping to just introduce a new class of people to Ties by Dion, as well as some of the other components of dressing and speaking and interview skills. So it has been a blessing just to have that one person, and all it takes is just to have that one person as a liaison to bridge the gap.
Yes.
Because we essentially need each other.
Definitely. The community base is going to be what, propels us. Yeah, because that's what we're lacking, especially in our community. So to have, examples of, it doesn't have to look like what you're seeing and what they want to portray to us, like you said, we're 80s babies, so what we saw and what came into our community
different.
Totally different.
We grew up in a whole other era that we won't bring up, but to understand that and have survived that as 80s babies, as I always say, to know that you have to look back and say, hey, this is what it's supposed to look like. It doesn't have to be,
and
fast money that way.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. And what's so crazy too, I learned a lot from the youth. Because there's certain things that it's like, okay, maybe I don't need to have this, because there's certain things that I learned to tone down in my dress just by being affiliated. Like, okay, it's a different type of, we're more relaxed. Say, for instance, like the school system that I work for, we had to wear a suit and tie every day. But now they have adapted through just their wisdom, like, hey, we can wear that 3 days out the week, but we need to have at least a couple of days where we embrace casual wear. So I had to lean into them very heavily, like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Casual wear,
Because I'm over there trying to, and it was so hard for me to wear some a suit with some sneakers one time. At one time, I said, I was just shaking about it. I was like, okay, let it go. You need to let it go. But we need each other because to balance each other out as far as the ecosystem.
Multi-generational is very important in our community.
Adapting.
Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that, multi-generational.
And that's how you learned, you know, if your parents didn't take the time to really sit there with you to do it, you know, a lot of, like I said, us growing up in the 80s, a lot of us did not have that. And we didn't all have that. But to have taken that in, because that's, you know, that is what you actually build. That's the wealth. That knowledge and the skills that you're getting from my grandmother, she can embroider like God's angel, I'm telling you. But I didn't get the opportunity to sit up under her, you know, to learn that. Now my daughter, for whatever reason, she has this obsession, and I'm like, wow, we skipped
a generation.
I'm so sorry. So that's why, you know, I'm so, you know, intrigued, and I love the fact that you really did pick that up, and it's something that you want to pass on, because that's what's important. Like I said, it skipped me, so she has to learn on her own. But if I would have, you know, done that multi-generational learning and really learned what the real, you know, skills and wealth is, that's something, you know, I would have passed on. But I missed the mark. But we have to be on.
Hey, because your alignment is different. Your path is different.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, your path is different, and you know the thing of it is, she probably didn't learn embroidery from you, but she probably learned a lot of other skills that intertwine with that as well. You know, when our skills produce resources in the sense of, it's like, it's almost like a scene, like, okay, I remember how to do this because I learned it when I was 12 years old because my mom told me how to do it. Like Bree showed me how to do this at this age. So it's like, it'll hit you, and it's like, okay, this is what my mom showed me how to do.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
To have that, and then it'll intertwine with what your grandmother showed her as well. It's like, oh, so that's when it's like a hybrid system.
Right.
Right for that. No, but for sure, because that's really important, and something that I really speak on, because I really am about our community building and, you know, healing, like I said, us being 80s babies and knowing, you know, what detriment our community really went through, and the broken, the homes that were just, you know, decimated, making sure that we're building these stepping stones, and it's going to be with skills like this. You know, true skills, learning, you know, even planting. I see that you grow, you know, a lot of your own food. Like things like that you really, it's lost on a lot of us, and especially the next generation. So definitely pass that on.
And I think it's important. I think it's important that we learn more than one skill at that. So definitely one skill, that's fine, but to have many skills, like, you're pretty much unstoppable, and you can pass that on to whoever. I think your mom sent the request.
No, she didn't.
She did. Don't accept it. Oh. I'm like, oh, who's this?
What?
Listen,
don't accept it.
No. When I tell you that Mr. Dion's hat, when he put it on, honey, the type of messages we were getting, I was like, you can ask him in the interview. Write it in the chat.
Put the questions in the chat. Okay, so I'm not going to accept it. I'll let you know it's down there.
Well, he's single, everybody. You heard it. I know everyone wanted to ask. I had people call me before and asking. He is single. Okay? Be right with the Lord before you reach out.
Right. Come correct.
And your
correct.
closet better be, you see the colors. They better
coordinate. Come correct.
Better coordinate. Gotta coordinate. So yes, but I love the beautiful things that you're making and the life that you have created and the things. See, yes, he puts it on. Yes. Okay, see.
Thank you so much. I just can't believe I'm on a program. You know, I can't believe I'm on a program just talking about this. Like this, I had an interview earlier this year, and I was like, I can't believe people want to, you know, they want to talk to me about my experiences, but I'm grateful for it. I'm just grateful. So, I mean, there's so many other influencers out there that you guys could talk to, but just know that I am so grateful, and I have gratitude. I'm just grateful for this experience. So I learned that nobody has to do anything for you, but I'm just grateful just to be able to share and just to talk about some things that God has blessed me with. So I'm
Amen.
grateful
Yes.
about that.
As we are,
Yes,
because,
very blessed to
like I
have
said,
you on
you
here.
are really doing, God's work and really, expanding on what God told you to do. And we are seeing it. So thank you so much for joining us and accepting this and
Thank
giving
you.
us this hour, because I know, how busy you are. Like I said, I do the 9 to 5 too and run the business. So I know
Right.
how that is. So we're so appreciative of you joining us today.
Thank you so much, and I'm definitely going to be chiming in and just
Thank
watching you
you.
guys. I mean, already seeing the metamorphosis. It's like, oh wow, this is cool.
Thank you. Thank
But
you.
I will definitely be chiming in on Thursdays, and if you
Appreciate it.
guys ever want to chat, you can
Yes,
put the
I
wave
love
That's
out,
a
to.
reach out.
pull the
Oh,
bat signal out, and I'll be there.
Will do, will
When they
do.
say throw the chair up,
Right, yeah, now it's the chair, right? That is our show, yes.
oh my goodness.
And before we end this, I just want to make sure that everyone knows how to reach you, how to get to
Mhm.
your website. So if we can put that in the chat, as well as you just letting the followers that are here know how we can get in touch with you.
Okay, so I've actually posted a link to my website. It's tiesbydion.com. And also, too, you can follow me. I have two pages. So I have one page where you'll maybe see, I guess, the seductive photos, and then you have the other page where you see the
Now,
network.
like, tag that one.
Yeah,
Right.
so you'll you'll just have, well, actually, you'll see one sign that just says Ties by Dion, and then that'll have the logo up.
Okay.
And you can look at the neckwear in detail that I have there. My website is pretty much up there. I don't get a lot of traction on there because most people just reach out to me
Right.
through
Mhm.
Instagram. So you can send me a holler through there at the contact us tab.
Mhm.
And if you want neckwear, I have a quick turnaround time for like orders of 1 and 2. It's only takes me about a couple of hours to create what I need to create
That's
for
awesome.
a necktie.
Nice. That's actually
Um,
impressive.
yeah, so it used to take me back in the day. It took me about a week to do it, but
Yeah.
now,
At this time, you
progression
got a
is
hold of
getting
it.
older.
Yes.
So what used to take 7 days now takes me roughly about 2 to 3 hours to do now. And
That is.
I would love to create some custom neckwear for you guys. I love weddings. I love to do weddings, and I love to do. We're in ball season right now because Mardi Gras is
Yes.
Yes.
where I'm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, yes.
yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Thank you so
Yeah, we
much,
greatly
Dion.
appreciate you and your
We
time.
we
Thank
do.
you all so much.
No problem. And thank you everyone for joining episode 21 of Sister Soul Sessions. I am your host, Brittany, and I'm joined today by our executive creative director.
And I am B, the executive director. And we thank you all so much for joining. Thank our guest, Dion. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Yes.
Brittany. Thank you, Bree. Thank you so much. I really
No
do appreciate
problem.
it.
No problem. You guys have a wonderful night.
Have a great
Good
night,
night, y'all.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Love.
Bye.
Bye.